Patch 13.15 brings many changes and 3 units receive a buff for the second time. I will tell you this, the Chinese players will definitely not let them go unnoticed and untouched. You probably guessed it, I'm talking about Swain, Teemo and Rek'Sai. So here are 5 comps that will dominate the meta in these next 2 weeks. And the last one is the spiciest. Some of you will love it, some of you will hate it, and some will never play it. So let's get started. Alright, let's start with Zeri and Freljord. As you have expected, Zeri is going to be the most powerful and probably also the most contested comp of this patch. Because of the zone quality of life improvements, it is now much easier to be flexible around zone, and it is much easier to find the modes that you want. Let's talk about the zone improvements. First, now you can remove the zone modes by benching the unit. So I don't know if it happened to you, but it happens to me so many times where, for instance, I had Zeri, full stuff, and I had a first mode, something that was okay on her, but not insanely good. However, when I filled it 4 zones or 6 zones, I would get robotic arm and I couldn't put on Zeri. The only way to put it on Zeri is to remove her and buy another one, which is also almost impossible. So that's an insane quality of life improvement. I do think this will encourage people to play zone. It actually encourages me a lot. And the second thing that's really important with zone mode is that we will first have either an offensive mode or a hybrid. So offensive is Virulent Plague or Robotic Arm, basically the 2 best Zeri modes. Hybrid is something like Shimmer that gives a bit of attack speed and can help you revive in case you die. And then the other one is the one that gives you more AP and AD if you have more than 50% health, or it gives you Omnivamp if you are below. So these are the hybrid. And then if you fill 4 zone, so you will have defensive or hybrid mode. In that case, you'll get either Exoskeleton that gives more defenses and helps you to cleanse every 10 seconds. And the other one is the Chemtech, so it's the one that explodes. Honestly, I think the Chemtech mode is more like an offensive mode, especially when you put that on the Jarvan that jumps and explodes. But that's just an opinion, and that's not me who decides how to code the game. So to play this comp, it's very easy, you probably know it. You can play with Piltover, you can play with 6 zone, but I think the most common version is with Freljord because it doesn't require you to have 1 zone spot, or it doesn't require you to find Piltover at 2-1. So with the Freljord version, you really want to have 2 carries, and the best 2 carries are Zeri and Urgot. Urgot, he got reworked a bit. That doesn't change his power if you have defensive stuff, but if you have offensive stuff, it will be actually stronger. So that's why I really like to have Rapid Fire Cannon on Urgot, and now his passive is attacking even faster. So I do think RFC is secretly OP and no one believes it except me. By the way, this guy that I'm showing right now is something I wrote myself, and you can find it on Tacter. The link will be in the description. It's completely free. Tacter is the sponsor of my channel. You probably heard it many times. This is how I can make proper guides so you guys can go on and just check whenever you need it. So let's get into the second comp, Rek'Sai Reroll. So Rek'Sai is the second time she receives a buff, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect Rek'Sai to be buffed because I've watched the Chinese finals for the mid-season and there was always one player playing Rek'Sai, and even if he never finishes first, Rek'Sai was often into the top comps in their lobbies. So that's why I'm really impressed to see this being buffed. So I do believe this comp will be one of the strongest comp, and I do believe like this will be at the same level of Noxus, and we will see this comp dominating the meta. So basically this comp, what's really important to have is 2 carries, Rek'Sai being one of them, but you really need to have another one. One of the best is Kai'Sa because it's easier to find, but you can also rely on Bel'Veth, for instance, if you have items for Bel'Veth and if you find Bel'Veth early. But again, I said like the most consistent carry you can find is Kai'Sa. She received a buff as well. So I do believe like this comp is really strong. Obviously, it's kind of augment and item dependent, just like Noxus. You really need to have the good items, and also you need to have the good augments. I'm thinking of Titanic Strength that gives 80% based on your max health. And obviously in 6 Brothers, you have a lot of health. You have something like Gargantual Resolve that improves the Titan's Resolve, and you have also anything that can give you more Brothers, so you can remove Renekton, for instance, and add Yasuo to activate Challenger, or add another late game unit like Emmandinger. The next comp is not something I invented. I think this comp exists since the beginning of the set, but I do think this comp is going to be, just like Zeri, one of the most reliable comp, but also probably hardest comp to find, because I do think Urgot will be almost impossible to find because 4 or 5 people will try to play Urgot. But anyway, there is a reason why most people will try to play this comp. It's simply because it's good. That's it. No one tries to play comps that's bad. So that's why this is one of the best comp. So obviously now Action received a nerf, so you don't really want to play the Action version with 3-star Action and 4 Dedeay. You really prefer to focus on Aphelios and Urgot to have the damage that you need to kill the units. And then after, of course, since it's Freljord, you have the same base, Shen, Sejuani, Cyan, Lissandra, Ash. This is a base you can put, and you can have 3 different units around. You can have AP, AD, whatever. It will work because this is such a reliable base, a reliable core that you can flex in many different comps. So obviously things like whenever you have AD start with AD items, Dedeay or Gunner, it doesn't really matter because you can flex between this and Zeri depending on whatever you hit first, as long as you have Urgot, as long as you have Sejuani and so on. Alright, the 4th comp, I still think it's important to put it because it's the Exodia. And honestly, the Exodia thing, you have to consider that most of the time, if you want to finish first, you want to aim for this comp. But now, even if Ari and Cyan got nerfed a little, this is just laughable. It will not make these units bad. I think the biggest nerf to this comp is rather the nerfs of some augments, for example, Orion Soul augments, and also the fact that they removed medium and shopping. So I think because of these changes, it will be much harder for many people to reach this comp by open forting, picking some augments from ASO, and then rushing level 9, and then find this comp and never lose. So I do think that the nerfs is for the strategy, like I just described, but not the comp itself. And that's why, for instance, if you have something like Final Reserve, so Final Reserve, in case you don't know, that's the augment that triggers when you have 1 HP and gives you 80 XP and 40 gold. If you have Final Reserve, you can go for this comp. You should go for this comp because it will make you win your game. Unless your transition wasn't that great and you lose the fight right after. That can happen, but this is not from my fault. This is more like how you maybe didn't manage your transition properly. There are some portals that can help you have this comp. I'm thinking about the new Yumi Zone that gives you more XP whenever you buy XP. So this is kind of a level up augment, but for free. So that's why I think if you have this portal, you can still try to achieve this comp. As long as you have a healthy early game or mid game and a healthy icon, you should be able to have it. All right, let's talk about the last one, the spiciest one, Teemo Reroll. So this is more like a hot take because there's a chance that this comp doesn't work at all. But I do believe after 2 buffs in a row on both Swain and Teemo, I believe like this comp has potential. So let's talk about it. Teemo Reroll. It was a good comp at the beginning of the set and Riot nerfed it to the ground. And after it was just unplayable. We never had a 2-cost meta. We never had the opportunity to play around Teemo, Swain and all of that. But after 2 buffs in patch 13.14 and patch 13.15, Swain should be an excellent, reliable tank as long as you have it 3 stars and good items. And Teemo should be really, really strong now because now with the new AI for Teemo, not only they improved the damage, but they also improved the AI. So whenever you have multicaster, the second mushroom will most likely hit the backlane, meaning that it won't kind of go on tanks 2 or 3 times in a row. Instead, you will have a good spread of damage, and that's exactly what you want. So I think this comp is going to be very, very strong, but it can be niche in the sense that maybe this comp will be strong only if you have the good augments. And talking about the good augments, I do think that this comp will be the new Too Healthy or Double Trouble compared to Talia that has been nerfed quite a lot and should no longer be a reliable comp to go for Too Healthy and Double Trouble. Obviously, if you have Double Trouble, you remove Sona and Vel'Koz to have 2 more spaces, so you put Teemo and Swain. And finally, this is a comp you want to reroll at level 6 because you're looking for Swain 3, Teemo 3 and Talia 3. Talia is not necessarily here for the damage, even though Talia 3, if you have a few chalices, can do a few thousands of damage per fight, but that's not really the aim. The aim, of course, is to have 3 units with 3 stars, so you can put Yordle and have 4-star Teemo that brings much more damage than a 3-star Teemo. There's one last thing I need to share with you, and it's very important. In 2019, when TFT just released and I played TFT and I climbed Grandmaster in the first set, that was also the year I met my future wife. And I want to say that last week we decided to get married. And this is very important because this just shows how important it is to be good at TFT. Because without TFT, I wouldn't have never met her. I'm pretty sure without TFT, she wouldn't have never stayed with me for 5 years. So I mean 4, almost 5. And I believe if you are good at TFT, something that great will also happen to your life. And I have something for you. Every week, I make a meta-analysis and I focus on giving you the 5 strongest comp that you should play if you want to climb fast. I do all the scouting, I do all the analysis, the research with stats, and also observation from top players in Europe and sometimes also in China whenever I can. And with this kind of information, I put everything in one place and that will go directly into your mailbox. It is scientifically proven, obviously I paid those scientists, that if you are good and if you subscribe to my newsletter that is completely free, you will get married, or you will get a girlfriend, or you will get $1 million, or whatever you wish will happen within the next 4 years. Exactly like it happened to me. I wanted to have a girlfriend, and in the end, I even get married. So this is exactly what's going to happen if you subscribe to my newsletter. And of course, as well, you will get more LPs on TFT, but that's just a bonus. In the meantime, if you're a bit lost about the augments that you want to pick and you don't really know what type of augments you should pick most of the time, you might want to watch this video because I made a thorough analysis of the 10 best augments. I can say now there are only 9 because medium and shopping just got deleted, but all of them are still very relevant in this meta, and that's how you want to pick them if you want to climb fast. See you at the top of the ladder and happy climbing.